This is 911. State your emergency. Hello? I can't help you if I don't know where you're at, honey. Where are you at? Where are you? I need as many units as I can get for Fairfield Road. Give me the numbers.
911, what's your emergency?
Hey friends, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Welcome to this new podcast series, Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. Brought to you by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 services for the enterprise today and making every second count. In this series, we're going to be talking to ENPs that have been on the job for years, as well as those brand new ENPs that have just passed the test. We'll dig in and have an in-depth conversation and find out what the ENP certification means to them. We'll talk about why they did it, what it means for their career, and what they did to pass the exam. Industry certifications are important to industry professionals, and the ENP certification is one that's admired by many in public safety. So join me as we find out exactly what makes an ENP tick in this off-the-cuff podcast series, Confessions of an ENP. Hey, it's Fletch. I'm Vice President of Public Safety at 911 Inform. Welcome to this episode of Off the Cuff, True Confessions of an ENP. Today we're sitting down with Leah Hornacek, who is the Deputy Director of the Grand Traverse 911 Center up in Michigan, one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Leah, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
How long have you been in public safety?
14 years. I'm just about to hit 14 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So you started when you were like 8?
Yes. Yep. I was tall for 8-year-old. Yep. Got right there.
That was pretty good, right?
I appreciate that.
Now, you first got your ENP, by my records, back in 2017.
I did. October of 2017.
Which means that October of 2021, you expired.
Well, I recertified, but yes, technically I would expire.
All right.
I'm up to date, I promise.
So what did you do for recertification? You had a couple of options there. Which one did you take?
So I chose to go with points.
Okay.
So
that must have been pretty easy for you because you do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I do. So I served on quite a few boards in my community. I'm now on the National NENA board for North Central Region Director. And then I've been presenting at local conferences and then at a couple of the national conferences. So that really boosted my point score.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that North Central Director thing. I'm gonna have to make a couple of phone calls on that. Yeah. Welcome with that, and congrats on recertifying as an ENP. Why did you get your ENP when you first started?
To be honest, it took a while into my career before I knew that was an option or that it was, something that I could achieve. My director, he was deputy director at the time, had kind of been encouraging it, especially as I started to move my way through the ranks of this dispatch center. And I remember when he got his, it was kind of a big deal and got a little bit of recognition for that. So when I started to promote, I started looking into it more and more, and he was a big advocate for it. And so the more I looked into it and saw how beneficial it was and how much I could learn and grow, it was kind of a no-brainer.
Now, did your agency pay for your ENP?
They did.
Okay. Do you find that's the norm in your circle of friends, or do people have a problem trying to finance that?
I think that sometimes people have a problem, but there are scholarships available too. And I know some people in Michigan that have gone that route to get it paid for. But then, there are other centers out there. They're very supportive, like mine was, and paid for it.
When you look to hire folks in your center, number one, do you look for ENPs, or does that kind of move a candidate up in the ranks? And do you advertise that ENP offer for folks?
So we advertise it within our agency. So far, just my director and myself have it at this point, but I have a couple people that are interested, so that's exciting. If we're hiring for the higher level positions, supervisor, deputy director, that is definitely, it's in there as a requirement or preferred even. And then if somebody has it, it's absolutely a benefit to them.
Now, before you got your ENP, you got your CMCP.
I did.
So I did my research.
Yes.
What Did the CMCP drive you towards the ENP?
It did. It was a really good, I loved that course. It was so relevant for what I was going through at the time in my transition from supervisor to deputy director. The CMCP really hit a lot of questions that I had. It's how to do this. What is an RFP? What does that look like? What does it look like to staff a dispatch center? What kind of things do you take into consideration? And so going through that was a huge, it was a huge step in the process. And then it's promoted in the class, and it just kind of seemed like the next natural step that I wanted to achieve for myself. So
back in 2017, that would have been Ty that was teaching that.
It was Ty, yes. Yep.
Yeah, you're very lucky. He's an excellent instructor, an excellent teacher, and just a real role model for this industry. I was really sorry to see him leave recently, but it was a good opportunity for him to move his career forward.
Yeah, he was a great instructor.
How has this helped you in your career, would you say?
It's helped in a number of ways. Honestly, that exam covers so many aspects of this profession. It really, technology-wise, is probably the biggest thing that it helped for me, just because I've been in that period where there's a lot of agencies, or there were a lot of agencies on a legacy network, or we were in that middle where we needed to figure out how we were going to bridge the gap. And then we have the ones that have moved into what we call next generation or now generation. So understanding that progression and how things worked. My agency in particular was in the middle of a CAD upgrade, a CP upgrade. We moved to an 800 megahertz radio system, including the first in the nation to go 800 megahertz paging. So understanding that technology and what it was going to mean for this dispatch center, and then in turn how to train my staff and the people that I worked with, it was incredibly beneficial.
Yeah, when I was dispatching in 1980, I had to learn push to transmit, here's the hold button, and these are 8 lines of the ones you answer.
The phone's making you answer it, yeah.
The technology just was not there. I had a computer that I used to do DMV lookups and NCIC checks on, which I still remember the command line for, which is crazy, but I still do. And it's funny because even in the modern systems, if you look kind of behind the covers, you still see that big long command string there, NCIC QV period.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
I still have the cards. When we didn't have CAD, or when CAD went down, you had the stock cards that you handed out to everybody. Oh, write it down on this. I still have those. It's a nice little reminder.
My agency just adopted those while I was there. We used the Lears system, law enforcement. I don't know, something reporting or something.
Right.
But it was like, and we had the punch clock on the desks, like ka-chunk, ka-chunk. But the technology is really come a long way. Has that been a struggle, or not? I shouldn't say a struggle. Has that been a challenge for you in adopting all the technology and molding it in? Because it's not always completely baked.
Right. It's been a fun challenge. A lot of lessons learned in the last 6 years, that's for sure. I think both things are challenging. I think you're right. Sometimes you implement things and it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be, but lessons learned, and maybe make it better.
Well, technology is developed by geeks in the back room who have no idea about what they're building the product for. They're masters at building the product. They just have no idea what the use cases are. And I actually had an engineer back at another company that I worked with a long time ago. I asked him, what's your experience with 911? Because he was promoted as somebody who knew 911. And I swear to God, Lee, he said to me, oh, I've called 911 several times. I swear to God on a stack of Bibles, that's what he said to me. And that made him an expert in 911. And me and the other person on the phone just sat there and just went, did that just come over the speaker? But anyway, it takes people out in the field to use the products and bake them through and get that use case down. What was some of the biggest challenges that you had with studying for CMCP and ENP?
Honestly, in the beginning, time management. I think I bought my agency bought the first book of knowledge, and I started studying it, right? And then by the time I was like, okay, I need to get serious about this, a new book had come out. And so I really wasn't managing my time very well. So I had to purchase the second book by myself, totally worth it. And set a standard. Like, okay, I'm going to set time aside to study. I'm going to pick my test date, and I need to be ready by then. And that really gave me a lot of motivation to keep moving forward, because I knew I had a test in front of me. Not setting that test date really didn't help me at all in the beginning. So that was something I had to overcome and do. And then really just understanding the legacy networks going into next gen and how those bridge. That was a little tricky, but it's almost one of those things too. Like once you get it clicks, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen that in action. I know exactly what that is. And so I would say that.
Where are you guys at in Grand Traverse with Next Gen now in Michigan in general?
We actually are in a pretty good spot. We're on an IP-based network. We kind of have the latest and greatest here. I mean, people are really fortunate and they like it. But then it kind of opens up that door for how much is too much. How much are they expected to look at and do and bring in? Because really, at this point, the possibilities are endless, which is exciting and terrifying, I think, at the same time.
Well, that's it. You turn on the fire hose, but you realize there's a crap ton of water in there.
Yeah, it is. So,
wait, did you have any challenges when you migrated over, and did your certifications help you with those challenges?
I think my certifications definitely helped me because I could speak the language. There's a lot of acronyms in there. Not too many challenges, really just time. I think, waiting for vendors to cut over and trying to bridge that gap in the meantime, and something's not functioning the way it is or the way that it's supposed to, because you're kind of in that limbo period and making sure that all your bases are covered. So not too many huge issues, but small things here and there.
It's more, I think it's more of a progressive planning issue, because you've got this huge Rube Goldberg machine that all interacts and operates. And when you change one little part,
right,
that little part works great, but you don't know what interaction you've caused against the rest of the machine. And that's not always documented because,
right,
let's face it, no one's done this stuff for 20 years, right? Everybody is kind of in that learning phase.
Exactly.
So what's your advice to someone who's thinking about their ENP or their CMCP or any of the other industry certifications, but specifically ENP? What do you think they should be thinking about as far as taking that step forward?
Do it. It is worth it. It is probably the single most important thing that I've done for myself in this career. Is
other
getting
than hanging out with me.
This is true. Yes, that would be a benefit, a bonus, if you will. So, it really has been so worth it for me and helped me keep growing. Honestly, it was such a learning experience as it happened, and then as you continue and you recertify and you expose yourself to other experiences and new technology, you really do keep growing, and that ENP helps you do that. So do it. It's worth it.
Absolutely. How about training that on some of the online stuff? Did you take advantage of any of the online courses? I know MCP runs one. There's a lot of resources out from Colorado.
I did.
A lot of people. Tracy Eldridge is running a session now as well.
I know. I saw that. I love that people have options. I did MCP, and that was very beneficial. Those meetups were helpful because a lot of people had the same questions that I did, or maybe I had questions that they had, clarifications, different things like that. So those were great. I've seen Tracy's. If I was taking it right now, I would hop on that one as well. As much information as you can take in, because the people who have taken it really are your best, some of your best resources in terms of getting through it.
The biggest mistake in my life that I've ever made is I gave Tracy the new copy of the Book of Knowledge and said, hey, just go over this and tell me what you think.
Oh, yeah.
3 weeks later, when I was done writing down all of her comments.
That's good, though.
No, she does a great job. She found a bunch of little nits, and what she found were some inconsistencies. Sure. And it was explained one way here and explained another way here, and people could take it two different ways.
Sure.
And you know what? A third, fourth set of eyes on something is always great. She's got a set of eyes like anybody who knows her, but I can only imagine what her training class is like. I haven't taken it, but I've heard a lot of good things.
I am certain she keeps people engaged.
Yep, no, absolutely. Well, listen, I really appreciate you sitting down with me. I appreciate all of your input. Thanks for being an EMP. Thanks for doing all you do. You've really come through this whole industry as a call taker, as a supervisor, as a deputy director. You have your sights even further?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the next month or so.
Does your boss have to worry?
He might. He might have to worry.
I know him too.
Yes, you do.
All right. Well, listen, thanks so much for sitting down with me. Again, I really appreciate it. Best of luck in your career. Best of luck. You've got a great opportunity in a beautiful center in a beautiful part of the country. Just absolutely envious of you.
Thanks. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
All right. Take care.
You as well.
Well, that wraps up this episode of Off the Cuff, Confessions of an ENP. I'm Mark Fletcher, ENP, and I'm the Vice President of Public Safety Solutions at 911 Inform. Off the Cuff is sponsored by 911 Inform, delivering next-generation 911 solutions to the enterprise today and making every second count. Visit them on the web at 911inform.com. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Fletch911. Check out all my blogs and podcasts at Fletch.tv. And be sure to like and subscribe below. That way you'll be immediately notified whenever a new podcast is published. Thanks so much for listening. If you're in public safety, thanks for what you do. Take care and have a great day.